Our text today was 1 Chronicles 10 through 23. God is establishing his kingdom. Are you on board? You see, it starts here pretty quickly off Saul killing himself. You see, God is establishing his kingdom. Saul was not the king that God wanted him to be, that the Israelites needed him to be. He was not fulfilling that role. And so God removed him and is bringing David as the leader of the Israelites to be their leader. And David is calling these people to help establish God's kingdom and all these different roles and these different ways that they are supposed to help establish God's kingdom here on earth. First, you see mighty men, David's mighty men, 3 of them especially, that I just mentioned here real quickly. David says, I'm thirsty, I wish I could drink from Bethlehem, and they bust through the Philistine lines, go get water and bring it back to David. You see, they were so after the vision of what God was doing about his kingdom. They were so on board that they were radical about what they were supposed to do, about their roles in how the kingdom is being brought here on earth. And God is establishing his kingdom. Are you on board? You see in chapter 14, there's a king of Tyre named Hiram who gives wood and he gives stonemasons and carpenters to help build this palace for David. And he's just providing these things because you know what he says, you know what, I like what's going on. God is establishing his kingdom and I want to be a part of that. You see in chapter 15, the Ark of the Covenant finally is being brought to Jerusalem. And you have in verse 22, Kenaniah. Just this guy, ever heard of Kenaniah? I haven't. But he's the head of the Levites, and he was in charge of the singing. And that was his job. He was like a worship leader. He was like Brad Moss. This was his role in how God was establishing his kingdom here on earth. In chapter 17, you see David, he wants to build a temple for God, but God says, that's not your role. That's not what I want you to do. You have a specific task. This task, the temple of God, the building of the temple of God, is for your son Solomon. You are to prepare and get ready for him to build it. That's your role. We all have specific roles. We all have specific assignments, and God is establishing his kingdom here. See, God is establishing his kingdom. Are you on board? You see in chapter 21, this is where things get messed up for David. He tries to build his kingdom. He wants it to be his kingdom, not God's kingdom. And so he starts counting all of his fighting men. How many men do I have? How big is my kingdom? And God says, no. This is not my kingdom. You are building your own kingdom, not my kingdom. So he punishes him, and David takes a punishment. And then David is building a temple, and he has his head on straight finally, and he's looking at the place where the temple is going to be built here on this hill. And the guy, he says, hey, I'll just give you this lot for free. You don't have to pay for it. And David says, this is it. In chapter 24. But King David replied to Araunah, no, I insist on paying the full price. I will not take for the Lord what is yours, or sacrifice a burnt offering that costs me nothing. David realized that God is establishing his kingdom, not our kingdom, here on earth. And that it may cost us money or jobs or some dreams that we had in the past. It may cost us these things. It may cost us our lives. But if we don't help him establish his kingdom here on earth and don't get on board and jump into his kingdom, it'll cost us our eternity. See, God is establishing his kingdom here on earth. Are you on board?